Hello and welcome to this Car Pod. I'm back in the studio along with
Nick and Filippo.
Kenan is out of town. Kenan has gone to Ohio, and to prove that, yesterday he texted me a picture of a Dodge Viper, which is what they have in Ohio. And so we are here, and we are going to carry on the podcast without him. Let's start with the news. There's an AutoZam. Okay, this was a topic over the summer. The state of Massachusetts, the Commonwealth of Massachusetts,
Get it right.
said that Kei Cars were no longer legal to register. Massachusetts isn't the only state that's done this. North Carolina did it, Texas did it, Maine, Georgia. It's been a problem. It's been an issue. And there was an outcry in Massachusetts, and they have reversed their position. The Kei Cars are now legal to register, but they say that they've reversed their position temporarily while they take a look at it. The Kei Car ban is interesting, I think, because they're just trying to protect people from themselves, right? The Kei Cars don't cause any potential harm to others.
Right.
Quite the opposite, in fact.
Yeah. The rationale is that they're not safe enough.
Conforming.
Of course, every car in Massachusetts more than 10 years old is rusted through and is therefore also not safe enough.
They have a pretty strict safety inspection. It's an interesting thing that has happened, this whole banning of Kei Cars thing, which has really kind of swept. What happened was the American Association of Motor Vehicle Administrators issued a guidance that DMVs should start banning Kei Cars. Not imported cars, just Kei Cars.
Because they're too small and
the problem
dangerous.
is the DMVs are not sophisticated enough to understand what is a Kei Car and what isn't a Kei Car, and adding the step of having like the RMV in this case worker go outside with you and like examine the sizing. A lot of them are just like, if it's a short VIN, Japanese VIN, we're just not going to accept it, and so that's what a lot of them have done. Well, but Massachusetts has reversed its stance.
And that was the fear, is that it was a slippery slope for all JDM cars, and the Skylines also getting shut down.
I think some of us, and I'm not going to name names, but some of us were kind of like, Kei Cars. But it is a slippery slope, because then Massachusetts apparently refused to register a Skyline, thinking that it had a short VIN, it's a Japanese car, it's part of the edict. That makes you kind of worry.
Yeah. What was also interesting, like in Georgia, they revoked titles.
They revoked titles.
Which is interesting.
And Maine did that too.
It was like, okay, you had a car, you imported it legally, you had got it titled in the state legally, and then all of a sudden you can't legally drive it. It was interesting. It was slightly concerning from that perspective.
Typical government, that everybody, a bunch of BS, red tape, and a lack of understanding on their part. But there is, I think, a reasonable argument that Kei Cars are kind of scary things, but the people are taking on the risk themselves, unless maybe it's a passenger who doesn't realize. I mean, that's the argument I guess they would make.
It doesn't make any sense to me. What about motorcycles? Yeah. What about three-wheelers? Like, it's no less safe.
Are they going to ban, what is it called? KTM Expos? No, what are those ridiculous three-wheelers that you like?
The Polaris Slingshot.
Polaris Slingshot.
I'm more of a Morgan guy, but point taken, right?
He likes the automatic Slingshot.
Go back to your 60s cars. People are allowed to drive those on the road. Like, good luck if you get in an accident.
That's a great point. And so it's kind of silly to just make an arbitrary decision, especially because the federal government has already made a decision, which is the cars can't come over until they're 25 years old. That's a safety requirement.
Is it?
This is a whole other topic that we don't need to get into right now.
It's a safety.
It is a protectionist thing for automakers, not just one automaker, but many automakers. But it's, in theory, it's a safety thing. Like the car, once they're 25 years old, it's a collectible car. You can import it because you're an enthusiast, as opposed to importing a non-conforming car from Indonesia that
it is also
explodes when you look at it.
This is all recent, right? 10 years ago, nobody was really importing that many cars from Japan.
That's right.
And now there's a lot. We sell a lot on Cars and Bids. Yep. There's a lot that are kind of flowing in as cheap cars.
Right.
Well, save the small cars. We want to bring an Aston Martin Signet to the States ASAP.
That is true.
And this is a threat.
How many years do you have to wait? 10?
It came out,
it came out, something like that?
And then you have to import it from Monaco. The documents will be in French. They're all in Monaco.
Does this news make Massachusetts your favorite Commonwealth?
No, Kentucky remains my favorite Commonwealth. Okay, next topic. Jaguar, speaking of Commonwealths, Jaguar, our favorite luxury brand, and by that I think we mean our least favorite luxury brand. Oh, what's worse?
Maserati exists.
Hey.
Jaguar has decided to take a year off of car sales. Like a kid who's just finished grueling 4 years at Harvard. They want to build houses in Costa Rica, take a year off before entering the job market.
Where's Jaguar building houses?
Jaguar is not going to build houses. They're just going to take a bit of a sabbatical. Now, this is odd because this is a company that employs people. They didn't say they were going to take a year off. No. That's been distorted. They said they were going to take some time off.
And they also said that they were, basically it's in recognition of they have a lot of new cars, in theory, they have a lot of new cars that are coming, that are in development. They're taking a year off of sales because their inventory's aged.
And do we know what these new cars are?
They're all electric because Jaguar wants to go completely electric. Now, I do want to say one thing. The real reason they're taking the year off is because they have built up so much inventory at dealers that nobody wants to buy. It's going to take them that long to sell the remaining I-Paces, even though they're offering half off and buy one, get one free I-Pace.
It's going to be thrilling in 2026 to buy a 2023 I-Pace. Brand new.
Yup. Yup.
Hey, we like
warranty
deals.
Punched 2.5 years ago.
I mean, like, it's good to just be honest. If you don't have any of cars to sell, you have nothing new. Your dealers hate you already.
The Jaguar brand is definitely the most tarnished brand currently. Yeah. Like, they're in really tough shape.
Go out and talk to some Chrysler dealers.
Chrysler, Mini, there's some tough brands, but Jaguar, the F-Pace was the only desirable car, even then they only leased them at good lease deals. Yep. Every time you saw one, you knew it was someone leasing a 2.0 T model for whatever they could get it out the door.
I believe it was 200T, but it's okay.
So they're trying to 25T. They're trying to rebrand and refigure this whole thing out.
Now, the good thing for Jaguar dealers is that they also have Land Rover, and therefore they make a lot of money on service claims.
Virtually all Jaguar dealers, although not all, but almost all, have a Land Rover dealer as well, and so that brand has been doing fantastically and continues to do fantastically. They can't get them out the door fast enough. They still are supply constrained. And so one could make the argument that maybe we don't need Jaguar. Jaguar's got to be the brand with the highest and most desirable name recognition and the least people who actually, like the gulf between name recognition and like purchasing.
Yeah.
It's like Aston Martin and Jaguar are the two, right? Like everybody thinks they're cool. Nobody really is going to buy one.
Yeah.
So true. I'm trying to think of what would it take, like what lease deal would I need to get on an E-Pace to buy an E-Pace?
An E-Pace?
Yeah, which is not the electric one.
Right.
Like, just so you know.
An I-Pace, it would have to be like free.
Is I-Pace for sale?
That's a good, I mean, there's still used, or new I-Paces.
Are there still? I didn't know if there were.
There's, I mean, that car's going to be at dealer lots for the next decade.
The fleet sales manager is going to have a good quarter.
Yeah, the next time I go to
start selling them to local governments like for parking meter enforcement.
Be a good life card vehicle.
Do you know San Diego's using Mustang Mach-E's for parking meter enforcement?
I'm excited to the next time I go to Enterprise or Hertz to rent an F-Pace for the cost of a new Versa.
It is the brand prestige they had, the XJ220, the E-Type, which is arguably one of the most beautiful cars in the world, XK120, the Jaguar XKR, personal favorite. They had a lot of good things going for them, but they're at a price point where it's very competitive and cars kind of turned on them, right? Like their whole brand was based in these luxury cars. Yep. And the market switched to SUVs, which fortunately they had in Land Rover, and so they were able to kind of make it up there. But like the XJ, which was our whole lives, has been one of the most desirable. Yeah, totally. And now it's gone. I mean, it canceled it years ago, and there's just not a lot of demand for these cars. I actually think that the F-Type, the SUV, like was good looking when it came out. Whatever, F something.
Well, there's your problem.
Yes. Fair point, though.
But I mean, it should have been a Cayenne competitor. I think they could have done something with it.
It's a beautiful SUV.
Yeah. But it kind of languished.
It languished,
as every Jaguar product. And in theory, we'll see a lot of new ones. And in a year from now, they'll be in a great position to sell new inventory. You know, I wish they would come out with some of those electric concept cars. They used to, Jaguar every year or two would come out with a concept car that didn't have like seats. That's what I'm looking for. It feels very much like the British Cadillac that's just kind of lost its way. That's a great comparison. Although MG was really that, but now it's Cadillac. Is it the British Cadillac or British Lincoln? Maybe. Either one. Either one is a good. Has any brand ever done this and come back? Take it a year off? No, no, it's not a common tactic. So they don't have the odds in their favor. I want to take a year off. What was the last Jaguar press car that you've had? Like, what was the last car that was new enough that they could convince you to accept their press car? I don't know that Jag ever sent me a press car. That's a good question. XE? I never had an XE. I went to Jag dealers. I think that was it because I did the I-Pace. What was it? Well, the best Jag of all time. XF shooting brake? No, although I saw one of those. I do love those. Yeah. I saw those in rural middle of the country driving on the freeway. Oh. The best Jag ever, recent car, XE Project 8. Yep. You remember that thing? Yes. The car had 9,000 horsepower. The side of it was a leaping cat. It didn't have back seats, and it had a wing the size of these bookcases. It looked like it was ready to go race IMSA. Like it did. It was awesome. So cool. And I don't know where they all went. I've never seen one except for the one I reviewed.
Yeah.
Sad.
Well, I don't think they made many.
Yep. No, because there was no interest or demand.
Right. Rest in peace, Jaguar.
R.I.P. Jaguar.
They'll be back. They're just taking a nap.
We're taking a nap. It's an interesting tech.
They'll wake up.
Company.
You have one more
window
story.
crank. This is a window crank.
For the users, for people that are watching that are under the age of 15, you've never seen one of these before.
No. Nick, if they have a Jeep Wrangler.
Nice. Although before you get into that, there are great like memes of like Vines or I guess Reels now of like what do different generations do for different motions. Like for picking up a phone, it's no longer this, it's like swiping on an iPhone. And for rolling down a window, it's like holding down a button. For all of us, it was
cranking.
You mime it as cranking.
Anyway, the reason this comes up is because the very last crank window car is gone, the Jeep Wrangler. I was actually thinking about this because I'm in a Nissan Kicks press car right now, and it has 4 automatic down windows.
Wow.
And that used to be like a big selling point, right? Like rear auto down. Only the Lexuses had that, not the Toyotas. But like power window, probably the cost to make a crank window version of the door panel and a power window version of the door panel has just gotten, it's just stupid. It's so cheap and it's so ubiquitous.
7 years ago, I had a Fiat Panda press car, or not, rental car that still had rear
in Europe, there are definitely still manual window cars.
But in the US, you've lost your chance.
You lost your chance.
Except for, of course, the many
You know what I find funny about
Jeep
this?
blocks.
Everybody complains about the death of the manual transmission. Nobody is standing up about the manual window.
It's just,
where are the purists? Where are the purists?
I'm surprised that the 911 STs and the lightweight versions of cars, they have your little loop because the door handle would be too heavy, but a power window, bring them back.
That's one of my all-time favorite things about those cars.
Yeah.
The enthusiasts, we have a door loop because we're trying to save weight, but you have a navigation system.
Yeah.
You have dual zone automatic climate
Power
control.
everything, yeah.
And all those guys go around talking about how hardcore they are. Meanwhile, because I got a door loop. Meanwhile, they're in the bucket seats. Meanwhile, they got a nav system. They got
an auto up window.
Yeah, and then a power window.
Of course, it's probably lighter to have a power window than like a nice heavy crank.
Yeah, but we're talking about simplicity here. We're purists about this. Should we pick it?
I will say I have a car, which we'll talk about later, that has a broken window regulator, and I wouldn't have minded if it's manual, because right now I got to use 2 hands and shimmy it back up every time it falls down.
That's right. That's the thing. A manual window, they never broke.
In the words of Lotus and their $200,000 SUV, let's simplify and add lightness. Bring back the manual crank.
This is a news story we didn't put on our thing, but we should do. So the Lotus E-liter is one of these cars that is subject to this China EV tariff of 100%.
So it costs $200,000 now, right?
200. When I reviewed it, and I thought it was a pretty good vehicle. It wasn't a Lotus really, but it was like a good SUV, honestly. And it looks good and it drives well.
And
it had a 105 base. They just came out with the first edition, which they're calling like the Carbon Edition, and it's got like a 195 base or something.
Oof. Well, when you
double the price before it even started.
Yep. Goodbye, Lotus.
Isn't that wild? So they're screwed.
Yeah.
But they were always screwed, so it's like.
But maybe they'll be really successful with the European market.
Does Tesla build EVs in China for the U.S. market? Probably not.
Only for the Chinese market.
It is such a shame Kennan's not here to do a China Trump impression right now on this topic.
It's such great Trump impressions.
Yeah, but he's in Ohio where everybody feels that way. Okay, next one.
Wait, can I say one other thing about the Jeep Wrangler?
Yeah.
Goodbye, automatic V6 Wrangler.
So are they all 4 cylinders now?
No, so you can get a manual V6 Wrangler still.
Yeah, I know that.
You can get the V8 for 1 more year, I think.
The V8 Wrangler.
The 392, and you can get the 4xe.
The V8 Wrangler is the subtlest flex in the car business.
Yep.
Like he didn't know until 2 minutes ago that they made one.
No.
It has a giant 392 badge, and he knew.
Where?
On the side.
It's dual exhaust. That's the only way you can tell.
It's also loud.
And it rumbles.
It does rumble. I think it's also a regular 4-cylinder that's not 4xe, but I can't remember.
You know what's weird about the 4xe Wranglers? Because they're all over Nantucket. And I was listening to
them.
But you know what's weird? They make this whistle sound that is unbelievably annoying. It's different than other EV sounds. It's like a whistle, and it's like, shut up. Before we move on, I want to take a minute to talk about today's sponsor, Factor. Factor makes my life easier with fresh, never frozen, chef-crafted meals that are ready to eat in just 2 minutes. Meaning, with Factor, I always have time for a nutritious, great-tasting meal. Between my family, friends, cars, and Kennen, my life can get pretty busy. Factor makes it easy to maintain a healthy diet while still enjoying my meals. Something you might not know about me is my love of food. It's one of the greatest joys in my life, right up there with my Carrera GT. Good meals are important to me though, and with Factor there are 35 different meals and more than 60 add-ons that you can choose and discover every week. Factor makes your day delicious from breakfast to dessert with dietitian approved meals you can trust: filet mignon, shrimp, blackened salmon, and more. There's no shopping, prepping, cooking, or cleaning up. Kickstart your meals, whether you're looking to help manage calories, maximize protein intake, avoid meat, or simply eat well balanced. Factor has meals that probably fit your lifestyle too. Head to factormeals.com/cars50 and use code CARS50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month. That's code CARS50 at factormeals.com/cars50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month while your subscription is active. All right, give us the next news story, which is a big one. This is the big deal. Nick, I want to hear your thoughts.
You want to know the news story? You got it.
It's a Mitsubishi.
Correct.
If I had to guess, it's orange on orange, which is one of the problems with this vehicle.
The interior is certainly black.
No, it's gray. They only did one
interior color. The wheels have orange.
This is a Mitsubishi Mirage.
Yeah.
Or if you wanted the sedan version, the Mirage G4. It will not exist in 2025. The 2024 is the final year of the Mitsubishi Mirage. And you know what that means? There's only one new car under 20K.
One more new car under 20K.
Do you know what it is?
Because this was the cheapest car on sale?
Yeah. It was. Now, to be fair...
Do you know what that one new car is?
Nissan Versa, of course. Although you can get a Leaf, I bet, for...
With the MSRP is under 20K.
Okay.
And Leaf MSRPs are not as cheap as they should be.
Yeah, but like you go into a Nissan dealer and you got a Pulse, you're walking out at 14.3.
Yeah, but you can also get an Ria, which is their mid-size electric car, for probably 20.
So the Mirage is gone. Now, the Mirage, I had a review of it that was not particularly positive about 7 years ago.
And nothing has changed?
Nothing has changed. People are going to blame me for the death of this car, and they already have. I've gotten some angry tweets.
Have you really?
Yeah, but the thing is, the car's been on the market 10 years. Like, that's a product life cycle, and they didn't want to update it, and I'm sure there's changing regulations that are like, kill it. Can I tell you a very interesting thing? In some markets, the Mitsubishi Mirage is sold as the Dodge Attitude. Did you know that?
No, but that's phenomenal.
Here's the best part. I swear to God what I'm about to tell you is true. In some other markets, the Mitsubishi Mirage, the Dodge Attitude, the Mitsubishi version is sold as the Attrage. Google it.
The Attrage?
A combination of Attitude and Mirage in one word. I swear to you. I am not making this up. And I assume the car's not going away in like Southeast Asia. Like I drove one of these in Thailand.
It'll still be for sale in another market. Just in the US, it'll be gone, and maybe Canada.
I drove one of these to the highest point in Thailand. How about that?
Out of curiosity, do 2024 models still have the hideous backup camera on the back?
Yeah, of course.
Well, the car is ready to be dead.
It's ready to be dead. It was a trash car.
It is sad that there's nothing under 20 grand, but it's not surprising.
No, like, I mean, it's very difficult in today's like regulatory and production cost environment. It's very difficult to make a profit on a car.
Right. What we should be talking about is there's been a few cars in the last year that are in the low 20s that are surprising. The Buick Envista.
Yeah.
The Nissan Kicks that just came out, which seems good, which I assume is low 20s. The Chevy Trax.
Yep.
There's actually like options.
It's been surprising to me that especially General Motors has kind of gone back into this because Ford kind of pulled out of this segment
entirely
and was like, we can't make money on cheap cars, which I think is reasonable. I mean, the Honda Fit was popular, and Honda was still like, we're doing this for practice.
17 grand in 2012.
Well, and the only way you do make money is through volume, and the volume couldn't have been here for this. So
do we feel bad for Mitsubishi dealers? They only can sell the Outlander.
I actually think the Outlander looks nice and is like a good price point.
Yeah, it's quite popular in other markets.
Yeah.
Like you go to Europe and there are some European markets that must heavily incentivize, and like it's one of the only plug-in SUVs.
I would buy an Outlander.
Yeah, me too.
You walk around Amsterdam, it's like all Outlanders and like 70s Cadillacs.
But it's the only Mitsubishi for sale in the US, I think.
What about the Eclipse Cross?
Oh, I legitimately forgot about the Eclipse Cross. Well done. Well done. All right, goodbye, Mirage. We will...
Nick, aren't you sad about this as a purist?
No.
Okay. All right, move on to the next
Cybertruck.
This I'm sad about. So that it exists. Just the existence of the Cybertruck makes me sad.
CyberTruck is a news story because it's been selling.
Well, so a lot of manufacturers no longer report out sales on a monthly basis. So we're a little bit delayed in this news story because not everybody reports out at the same time. We don't have final numbers. But there was an analysis done recently that showed that Tesla sold something like 5,000 Cybertrucks in July alone, which is approximately the same as the total number of other EV pickup trucks. So if you combine the Rivian R1T, the Ford Lightning, the Silverado EV that has sold 0, especially in July.
I saw Washington, D.C. government had a Silverado EV.
Nice. The Hummer EV pickup sold fewer combined than the Cybertruck.
Okay, look.
There's only one impressive thing in this, but go ahead.
Here's my analysis.
Yep.
Okay. This is new. Those are old. Next topic.
Also, the biggest surprise here is not that it's sold that many, although 5,000 Cybertrucks is not a small number of Cybertrucks. It's that they built that many.
Yeah.
And also they were all Foundation series, which was in theory limited to the first 1,000.
The Foundation series is still...
It's now all of 2024
It's just regular production.
It's all of 2024 model year and maybe more. We've gotten a lot of... We sell a fair number of Cybertrucks. And for a long time, we would put like Foundation series in the like subtitle and like limited edition or whatever. Yeah. And we would also refer to the exoskeleton because Tesla did. Every like couple weeks, they update their website and they remove references. So like, it used to be that the Foundation series on their website was limited edition first X units. They've removed that to be limited to the 2024 model year. And I think now it says something even vaguer.
What do we think about the Whistling Diesel Cybertruck durability test?
Wow, we're going back months of news here.
I got to tell you, it was the greatest thing I saw this whole summer.
Yeah.
Part 2 is coming soon, apparently.
What did you think about that?
I mean, the whole bumper issue was like pretty interesting. I thought he was brilliant to compare it against the F-150 Lightning.
It was a regular
F-150.
But either way, like it's really hard to like the Cybertruck, and like that to me, like was just another nail in the coffin for the Cybertruck in terms of like
actual
people who are on the internet and thought it was cool initially.
The Tesla Twitter people freaked out. You didn't do this right, you didn't do that right. It was like laughable.
But some of those things are really concerning. Like if you don't hook up your tow bars to something...
I'm going to go out on a limb
correct.
here. I'm going to go out on a limb here. I think the Cybertruck's stupid. I think the Cybertruck's kind of cool. I think a lot of the people who buy them are kind of...
Editors, get ready to cut this, please. As in for short, so we can publicize it.
But the thing that was with the steel and it didn't really bother me.
It's only concerning because it could be a legitimate safety hazard, and there are standards for how you have
happened. I mean, like this is one of my
when the video came out, there were other people that said I was towing this
once or twice, but customers will do anything. Like there is nothing people can't do once the public has a vehicle. That's what we learned at Porsche.
I know, but like you need. If you say it's rated to tow a certain amount, you need to be able to actually withstand that.
No one's towing with an EV pickup. That's a bad choice.
But he didn't break it while towing. That's the thing. He broke
it in a way that is realistic to recreate.
You mean dropping it on a steel, on a cement block?
You're towing something, you go over a large pothole. It needs to be connected in a specific way, and I think that the SAE has recommendations around how, like what
There's
kind of
a lot of problems with the Cybertruck. The towing thing is a minor one.
Him being able to peel off the pillar trim, the window trim,
what do you think was the situation?
It's supposed to be this indestructive road truck, and then
whatever.
It disassembles like a Lego kit.
That's why it's so laughable. The people who drive them think they're the coolest, toughest, and it's built like a child.
Going back to the news story, don't you feel like them cherry picking June to say it was good? They had a stop sale the month before because of the pedals, and they had 3 years of reservations. Of course it had a good month.
You might be right that there's some cherry picking there, but the point still stands. I mean, Rivian is just out there trying to sell trucks, and they ain't selling at this level. And the Lightning, which was the hottest thing in the world when it came out, what happened to that? And the Hummer EV, they're moving 2 a month. Anyway, the point is, the Cybertruck, regardless of whether it's cherry picking or not, is selling. I'm curious to see like a year or the first 24 months or something. That'll kind of be a real indicator.
And we'll have better data at the end of the quarter, so at the end of September when other manufacturers also report out their
Because I'll tell you something, when Rivian was hot, it also outsold all the other EV trucks. There weren't.
And the Lightning originally.
When Lightning was hot. So look, we just got to figure out, is this early people who are excited? Tesla's real problem is going to be, are there still going to be excited people after 2 years of this truck when you can buy used ones for $75, $60?
Prices have plummeted. Because to their credit, they're delivering trucks, which is what they need to be doing. Have you noticed that most that you see are wrapped?
Well, they're wrapped because it's impossible to take care of the stainless steel.
Yeah.
So it's cool. I think the stainless steel is the coolest look. I think when it's wrapped, it doesn't really look all that cool anymore. You kind of lose a lot of the appeal.
There's a guy that wrapped it stainless steel, so that it was easier to maintain while retaining the look. But my question is, I feel like EV pickups in general have had a bad rap. Like Hoovy's review of towing with the Lightning that made the rounds on the news cycles. This, besides the damage it's doing to the Tesla brand, might be also spoiling EV pickups in general. Because everyone's just going to say, I need a pickup. And the CyberTruck is yet another example that the EV pickups aren't capable of being actual pickups.
I agree with you, and I was thinking about that with Fisker. Like, I've talked to people, a bunch of people, my neighbors this summer were asking me about Rivian, and they're like, but I'm worried that it might fail like Fisker. And that's the same thing that you're talking about. Like, oh, this EV pickup truck is stupid. Aren't they all stupid? One EV that gets in people's minds, it starts to permeate the other one. So I think it's a loss. I agree with you. I think it's a loss for all the EVs when one of them looks like it's poorly built and trashy and can't do what it's supposed to do.
That's why I feel bad that Toyota has sold any BZ4Xs. It's really setting a bad foundation for EV.
On the road today, I was in the Countach. I knew that person wouldn't look over at the Countach. All right, next
Last
one.
Story.
Nick, what do you got?
All right, it's a resident pro modification guy here on the podcast. Cobb Tuning got a pretty big fine, like close to $3 million for helping hundreds of thousands of people, quote unquote, cheat diesel regulations through their tunes. It apparently made it so that they could get through smog or whatever their equivalent was.
Through their access port.
Yeah, everyone's saying it's a big fine to like you or I, like that'd be a lot of money. To Cobb, it's not enough that it's going to end them, but it is interesting that there was yet another crackdown. They're going to stop tuning diesels.
Yeah. The EPA has really cracked down on diesel.
I have a question about this.
Cheating.
Is diesel just done then? Because it seems to me like Volkswagen. We all knew Volkswagen was the big one, right? And they got hit with this thing. It was a big part of their whole brand identity.
It was their entire brand identity.
They had gone away from hybrids and electrics and focused on diesels. And now they stopped, right? The Ram that had a diesel, the Mercedes with diesels, they have all gone away because they were all using defeat dices, let's be honest.
Yeah. Heard it here first.
No, I mean, other ones got penalized
100%. Too. If they weren't penalized here, they were penalized in Europe for the exact same thing.
Is diesel just done? The only cars using diesel, like the big SUVs and the big full-size trucks, but I'm not sure they're subject to the same regulations.
A lot of over 6,000 are generally not subject to any.
Like the Yukon has a diesel and like the Ram 3500 and stuff.
You can, you can still get that.
You can still get, but that's the same kind of thing, right? Yeah. It's such a big vehicle that I'm not sure it has to do with. So, like, is the rest of it done? Is there a diesel Wrangler anymore? Like, is this over?
I think it's over, and primarily I think it's over because the EU changed a lot. A lot of diesel reaching people was because the EU had there were a bunch of incentives that fundamentally incentivized it.
Yeah.
That ended a few years ago.
Europe was the place where
and that ended a few years ago. They decided to no longer
focus on electric.
But this really is people taking their Silverado diesel and removing additional restrictions, removing things that made it vaguely
but it's
better
another, to me, it's another nail in the coffin of diesel. Not only is it harder to buy one, now you can't tune one.
Now you can't roll coal.
You can't roll coal. The government's going to come after you. They're taking this quite seriously.
As they should.
Diesel's over.
Let's just hope that the tuning industry in general survives. I want to be able to unlock an extra 30 horsepower and do some cool stuff. So
he wants that Ford Focus.
Actually, you got to assume that a lot of the tunes have a bad effect on emissions. So why does the government focusing on diesel? Right?
Because it's just so much more egregious.
Yeah.
The effect is much more significant than an APR stage 1 tune on a GTI.
Yeah, and probably some of it isn't, right? A boost, turning up turbo boost or something probably doesn't have much of a... not enough to make a big deal.
It doesn't change emissions.
The California is apparently now checking for tunes and will fail you on smog. Now, how widely that's being enforced is another question.
But you know how to avoid it? Don't modify your cars, guys. Your manufacturer knew what they were doing.
Nick knows how to avoid
I can't share my smog secrets in a public venue, but there's ways.
Do they have to do with the Billings? Or Helena?
Helena is how you pronounce it. Thank you to whoever corrected me on the last pod.
I've been saying Helena for months. Yes. We never bothered to correct.
But no, I mean, even within California, there's ways around. But it's interesting. Every new car comes out, the manufacturer says, "Oh, this is untunable. It's uncrackable."
What?
Eventually, they find ways. Yeah, because there's so many controls in the ECU that locks you out.
Are they proud of the fact?
General Motors is especially some of the cars that you might expect to have been able to tune 10 years ago. You can't as much anymore.
Yeah.
Okay, we got to move on from news to our next
segment.
segment.
You can buy from Ford the performance kit that gives you an extra 100 extra horsepower.
Ford still allows it, and Hennessy primarily only tunes Fords now because of that.
Interesting. I think it's good that, honestly, the EPA is really cracking down on a bunch of really egregious emissions stuff. Cobb will be fine.
You can't let these people just continue to do it, especially if they're specifically flouting the law by creating a device that literally knows when it's on a dyno or whatever and changes the emissions profile. The government, you can't get mad at the government. They got to enforce that. All the back the blue folks ought to be supportive of this. I have a suspicion though that there's a little bit of a distressing overlap here.
My takeaway from the new segments is I want to get a Cobb tuned Kei car with a diesel motor, and I'm going to drive it to a Jaguar dealership and ask for a trade-in.
Crank windows.
Crank windows.
You know, I
always felt
that one of the great videos would be taking an XJ220 to a Jaguar dealer and asking for an oil change. Just show up like you're a customer. Hey, listen, can I be a waiter? Can you guys? This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. It's back to school time, and even if you aren't headed back to school, what is something you'd love to learn? It's always important to make time to learn things about yourself. For instance, I would like to learn how to detail my cars as well as Kenneth. Therapy can help you reconnect with your sense of wonder and your curiosity within. Mental health and therapy are tremendously important to me. I have family members in the mental health space, and I truly believe in therapy and in its ability to create successful outcomes and improve lives. I really, truly do. And BetterHelp is a great way to start the journey. If you've been considering starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, and it's designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. And rediscover your curiosity with BetterHelp. To get started, visit betterhelp.com/thiscar today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/thiscar to get started with BetterHelp. Okay, our next segment is talking about cars. There are two major topics that we have to cover this week. Two! And we'll start with Nick.
Well, I have a little announcement for the viewers. We have determined our next car, and for those listening, I bought a Maserati branded Polo that when you pop the collar, it says Maserati. So very on brand.
Come on,
keep it popped.
You gotta soothe the image.
Even I have more shame than to actually wear it this way for longer than a second or two.
This is the most tasteless thing I've ever seen in my life. Show us again.
The combination too. It's actually made in collaboration with North Sails, so it's for sailing people that have Maseratis, which you just have to imagine what that dinner table conversation is like.
Right.
I bought a Quattroporte. I'm super excited. It was...
Wait. You didn't buy just any Quattroporte. You bought the
2012, so the M139, basically the Ferrari F430 derived engine Quattroporte.
That's what we're going to hang our hat on.
as we call it.
QP5. So tell us about the car.
It was the sketchiest transaction I've ever been involved in, and that's saying something as someone who intentionally seeks out to lowball the sketchiest sellers I can find.
I and our producer Sean and Kenan and Doug have all cringed independently at different moments of these stories.
I may or may not technically own it right now because there was a problem with the title that we're still...
insurance.
It's insured now.
You have the car in your possession.
Are you aware of the clear coat situation?
Yeah, I saw it.
I might have removed some paint on it.
While he was doing a DIY PPF removal job, he pulled the clear off and pulled the PPF off, and also a thing of clear about the size of a license plate.
So we're going to do another YouTube series for cars and beds.
Yep.
And I was worried the car was too nice and we wouldn't have content. I've had the car 4 days and I've already got 2 episodes worth of content. So,
well, the biggest episode is buying the car. The sales process was truly the sketchiest thing from the sketchiest individual in the history of West Texas. And
I think you should do a full video on just what happened with Doug's face in the corner reacting.
Are you aware that at one point the guy said to him, I don't know why this is a problem for you to send money or me to, because I have more money in my bank account than you anyway, so whatever.
When I send proof of funds, it quickly devolved into a contest to see who was richer or not. And I wanted to explain to him that I didn't keep all of my net worth in my checking account, but I was just like, forget it. This is going to be too complicated.
My favorite part is that he was willing to send you the title, but not a bill of sale.
Yes. Oh, yes. He was terrified I would take the bill of sale to the police and somehow steal his car.
He sent you the title.
Yes.
Signed. Well, incorrectly signed, but the signed.
The bill of sale is more important and valuable than the title.
But you'll talk about all this in a video.
Yes.
Thankfully.
It was a long journey, but the car is I'm over the moon about. So the QP5s were about $150,000 car new. Today you can buy them from like maybe let's call it 10 to 20, depending on mileage and condition. But towards the end of the run, they fixed the transmission. It was known for having the F1 trans, or Duo Select Maserati called it. They switched to a ZF transmission. And then it was known for having cam variator problems, which was a $6,000 to $8,000 fix on a car worth 10.
Yeah.
So the resale value has got to be at the bottom.
But his car is late enough in the production run that it's past both of those problems.
And it's a gorgeous color.
It's a gorgeous color. It's this beautiful blue.
Blue Mediterraneo with the MC Sportline package. It is perfect, but towards the end of the run, because it had such a bad reputation, like Jaguar, Maserati probably should have taken its year off to find itself. But they produced a handful for the final model year. It was really hard to find them because of that.
Can you define the MC Sportline?
You'd be stunned, Filippo. It's incredibly...
No, I know. That's where I'm getting at.
Yeah, it's incredibly useful. There's carbon fiber all over this car.
But was that part of MC Sport? I thought you couldn't find anything from Maserati that defines MC Sportline. It might be an aftermarket badge. We don't know.
I was trying to research this because I was hoping it was like a paint to sample thing. So I called the Maserati dealership locally. They go, "Oh, we no longer sell Maseratis, only Ferrari. Try this other dealership." So then I call another dealership. They're like, "Oh, I think it just means carbon fiber trim, but I'm not really sure." So then I called Maserati corporate in North America and say, "Oh, we're not really willing to share anything with you unless your name's on the title." So I'm going to try them again, but it does seem to be more like an interior trim.
But dude, it looks amazing.
It looks great.
This car, it's here today?
Yeah.
I didn't realize that. It's blue. It's really gorgeous car. You're going to see it in a YouTube series where Nick documents all of the problems with it, and then he fixes it up and makes it great, like the P38 Range Rover.
My goal is to own it for free, because it's known for being bad maintenance. So we'll see if the maintenance exceeds the point of where I could sell it.
It does have 90,000 miles.
89,000 and change.
Yeah. But the fact that it even got to that point, I think is a testament to the reality that these cars aren't as unreliable as some people say, particularly if you get a late one that has some of these issues solved.
I did the oil change yesterday, and it was really clean underneath. It didn't really have any leaks. Compared to my P38, this car is like cherry.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's
I love it. I think it's great. I worked at a Ferrari dealership when these cars were new, and I remember driving them and thinking they were so great handling. They were just so much fun. We also sold Bentley, and it was literally a night and day difference between a Flying Spur and they were both new at the same time, and that Quattroporte. Like, it was so fun to drive. Sounds great.
I was worried the suspension was broken because it was so firm, but I think it's just a sporty car.
It's a sporty car. It really was. It was a great handling, great steering car. That depreciated heavily. We sold one the other day for like
10, 12 of that.
It was 11-ish, or 10 and change, but and that one had the ZF transmission. That was a great buy. I was actually egging my friend to buy it because I was like, I already bought one, but this is a good car to buy.
You could have two. Hidden Harris.
I could.
Well, the best thing, I mean, you kind of, maybe he'll need to.
Yeah.
Let's hope not.
I'm thrilled for your purchase and that the car showed up.
I have actually always I have a 1/18 scale diecast that I bought literally when it was new, like 15 years ago. So
the purchase was so sketchy that, the dude who sold him the car, it wasn't his name on the title. It was a man and a woman who he claimed was his cousin and the cousin's mom or wife, right?
With a different name. Yeah.
With a completely different name. First and last, totally different.
Only Nick would be willing to purchase.
And at some point, Nick texted us, our group chat, and he's like, "Hey, so many problems have happened. This transaction is cursed." And I'm like, "Nick, it's cursed because you've gone after the sketchiest car from the sketchiest seller. Like, if you were just buying a car from a dealer, it wouldn't be cursed. It would just be a normal transaction. Right. It's cursed because you pursued that."
If you're the seller and you're listening to this, just sign the title.
I know, right? I just started thinking that. I'm like, he has the title right now, and I need him to return it.
Sign the title first, and then
he's not going to hear any of this. He doesn't care. He doesn't know about cars. That's one of the things that I find to be so crazy. Like, if he had Googled Nick, he would know, because Nick held his tongue for a lot of the craziness because he wanted the car for the content, which is what a lot of us do when we're buying content cars. Like, we know, and the seller's like, "Oh, I'm slipping one under." They don't know. We always know. We just need the videos.
Yeah,
and that's what's happening.
I did eventually explain to him. I'm like, "Hey, you can Google me, and also like, here's a picture of my Lamborghini. Like, I promise I'm not trying to scam you."
So after he said the bank account thing, you showed him a picture of your Lamborghini. So you got into like a pissing match with this guy?
A little bit.
What is wrong with you?
He was selling a $1,500 water slide, all right? I wanted to just...
His other stuff on Facebook Marketplace was like a used water slide. This is in El Paso. A used water slide, the Coupe. There was one other insane thing, some sort of gardening tool.
What kind of water slide?
Oh, it was a plot of land for like $85,000.
On Facebook Marketplace. I wonder who that was titled to.
But it's part of the fun. It's part of the chase for sure. So I think I scored pretty well.
I can't wait for the videos. I checked out the car the other day. I think it looks absolutely great. Okla, really seriously, I think it looks great. I love those cars. I really do. Yeah. I've just always been afraid to pursue one.
We're thrilled that you're not too afraid.
And I got to say, the next gen QP lost a lot of the like specialness that the one you have is sort of like it feels like a real exotic car. Like there's little stitched leather and like it's just really, the newer one is more accessible, probably more reliable, but not as special.
Whenever someone claims a Ferrari derived engine, you have to kind of take it with a grain of salt, but it did have the sticky buttons from Ferrari. It had a lot of the Italian
So not only did it have a Ferrari derived engine, it had Ferrari derived sticky buttons.
That's right.
Yes.
And that's how you know it's real. The other Talk Cars segment is I drove my Toyota Sequoia across the country and had a flat tire. Now, I posted that I had a flat tire on my Instagram, and people became enraged that it's not a flat tire. They said that is just destroyed.
I mean, they're not wrong.
Here's what happened, okay? I was driving along, just down the road, down the interstate, and the tire, the car started to sway. The rear of the car started to sway. And I thought it was just the lane keep assist, because that can happen sometimes, that it's like does some weird, makes weird decisions or whatever. But it turned out that after a little bit more aggressive swaying, I looked down and I saw the tire pressure light was on. Okay, so Filippo's pulled up the picture. This is the tire. It really was a bad situation.
Yikes. This tire is demolished.
So anyway,
flat. Okay, sorry. Let's just talk about this. A tire goes flat.
Yeah,
flat. Then you have to drive on a little bit to get off the highway safely. The car
starts swaying in the back, and I realized, I looked down, the tire pressure monitor's on. And the Sequoia has one of those things that has each tire pressure is actually printed there. So I scroll over to that and I see back right is 0. Okay, so I know it's gone, and it's not going to be like a slow little leak. It's like gone. Well, I immediately pull over, and it looks bad. It doesn't look like this, but it looks bad. It had blown out. It was not a flat. It had blown out.
It had fully blown out. Yeah.
And so I knew I wasn't going to be able to patch it or anything, but I was in a dangerous.
You're not best in that. My gosh.
I was in a dangerous spot. I'm not a big fan of parking on the shoulder of the freeway. I think it's really dangerous. Some people do it, change a tire there or whatever. Some people like pee. It's not my thing. I think it's really, really dangerous. So I got off the freeway with it. I had to drive about 3/4 of a mile on the tire. And then when I finished driving the 3/4 of a mile, then it looked like that, which is even worse. But it didn't look that different right when I pulled over, like immediately.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened.
Were you just driving in the shoulder for 3/4? Like.
Well, what actually happened was the next exit was 5 miles ahead, but the other direction had an exit behind me. So I did a U-turn on the freeway. I waited till there was no one coming. I pulled into one of those emergency turnarounds.
I mean, to be fair, it was an emergency situation.
And then I waited until no cars were coming the other way. It was really dangerous, but I felt like it was less dangerous than 100%. The alternative, which was just sitting there on the freeway. So anyway, we changed the tire. I called AAA. You know, AAA I was going to do it myself, and I had already started the process. But the AAA dude comes with a floor jack, an impact driver, and a compressed air. And in literally 18 seconds, he's got the tire off the car and changed. It's like a cheat code.
Was the tire underneath? The
spare was underneath, but the problem is...
Thankfully for you.
The problem is, so the back was completely full of stuff. All the tools were in compartments in the trunk. So it took me... The longest part of this entire tire changing process was just getting the tools out. I had to completely unpack the back of the car and got the tools out. And the full-size spare under the car, drove 2,200 miles home on the spare, and we're still waiting for the new tire, the Falcon Wild Peak.
Ooh.
AT3.
You had the factory tires on the car?
Factory tires.
And they did fine off-roading and all that
over
great. Summer?
It was amazing. It was the best off-roader. It was fantastic.
It was really good.
But you do have to wonder about a factory, a new tire that blows out at 6,000 miles.
In its defense, it had a hard life.
Well, the other tires didn't blow out.
You wonder if there was like a bubble in the sidewall or something for the sidewall to blow it and not the...
I'm going to give Falcon a little bit of credit here. I drive on the beach every day. And so in order to drive on soft sand, you have to be at 15 PSI. And so I actually drive around all summer for 90 days and about 1,000 miles on 15 PSI.
Yeah.
So,
and that car is really just going from your house to the beach onto the beach. Like it makes sense for your use case.
I have no regrets about doing it. I would replace a tire every year if it meant that I could drive at 15 PSI. Like airing up and airing down every time you go on the beach is insane. And so maybe that caused it. So we're not going to really blame Falcon for this.
No, but it is a little concerning. I'm glad that you were
Jason,
able to safely.
I got lucky. And this man named Jason came and helped me change the tire.
And then you parked on the wrong side of the street. The whole thing.
Well, this is actually some sort of weird turn lane. You know, I could tell you exactly where it is. Kingsport, Tennessee. Some exit. Okay, we got to move on to our next topic. We're going to do a short market report. Because we got a lot of questions.
We do.
And they're good this week.
Oh, good. They're good every week.
So I want to talk short market report. Yes, F80 wagon. Tell us about it. Did you think about bidding?
I did, other than I literally had a Quattroporte on a truck. But, and you all had that beautiful B7 RS4 wagon in the past. You've had some great E39, E46
This was the best,
conversions. This, I've never seen one before, and it is just so well done.
For those who can't see, we sold a 328i, BMW 328i station wagon, but it had been hit, and instead of just fixing it, someone decided to make it into an M3 conversion. But the best part is they did it right. They didn't stupidly modify it. They put on M3 fenders, M3 wheels, a manual transmission, which the wagons weren't offered with, M3 powertrain, so it had the S55. Like, it was if BMW had made the M3 wagon, this is exactly what it looked like.
And a handsome color. Like, a lot of times when you do the wagon conversions, you can't help but get a little carried away.
And people do.
You put it Pepto-Bismol pink with some HREs.
And they lower it and do some extra light. It's stupid.
This looks factory.
Perfect. Looks absolutely factory. And as a result, he got all the money.
72 grand has to be a record for a 325.
For a 325 with a bad title. How many miles did it have?
It doesn't matter.
67.5, but TMU. So rebuilt title. Like,
they had everything.
I don't know if they got the money back or not. Like, I'd be curious what a build like that costs.
But 72 grand. I bet he got the money back.
An F80 M3 doesn't cost that much, and a rebuilt title F31 doesn't cost that much.
Especially if you got insurance to chip in for what the normal rebuild would cost.
It was a fantastic build. We've seen a lot of cool builds on the site. This is honestly one of the very best builds I've ever seen. When this came through, because I see all the listings before they go live, I thought to myself, damn, I want that. I wish this dude had just privately messaged me and offered it to me for 40. Because I knew once it went live that it was going to bring all the money.
But like, it's worth that money because you don't want to build it yourself.
You do not want to build it yourself.
It looks really well done. And it's just so cool.
I've looked extensively into doing this with the B7 RS4.
We hosted a B7 RS4 wagon.
Yeah, you had a beautiful one that I know well. And it sold for 75. Based on everything I looked into, you would spend at least 75 trying to recreate this. And it would take 6 to 12 months if everything goes to plan. Like, it's at least a year and a lot of headache. So if someone's already done it and it even costs just what it cost them to do it, like, that's a bargain.
And I mean, this was just perfect. It was exactly what I would have done. And by the way, it's worth pointing out, BMW didn't actually make this car, even in Europe. There was no M3 Touring. And so, like, this was it. I was actually even kind of curious about that because, like, rear fenders, I don't even really quite understand. They must have just, like, done it and figured it out.
Do we know? Did they say anything about that? Quarter rear front bumper, quarter panel, and then they must have custom made some.
You can often graph, like, you just cut out sort of the rear fenders.
It would have been too hard to figure out what you would have done.
But they did a great job.
So cool.
The shop in Michigan that did this did a great job, and hopefully they build more.
I know. I would give anything.
Well, that result should give them a little confidence that 100%. They can do it again.
Especially if they take a clean title car. Like, there's always going to be that question about it, but I bet they could get more money if they took a neat color. Like, they made a Storal 328i wagon.
They sure did.
Do an Storal blue conversion of this with a clean title, with low miles, and I bet you could get 100 grand.
You're right on the clean title. At the same time, if you buy that, the car's been completely rebuilt. So, like, effectively, it doesn't make a big difference.
Although I agree with you, I'm not sure I could sell my wife on that.
It depends on, like, how messed up the chassis was, if there was frame damage maybe. But, like,
I generally agree with your point. But I do think taking a clean car and saying, hey, we started with a car that was totally fine would give you a little bit more credibility.
Can we talk about a car that just went live that I think you're going to be excited about? This wasn't on the list.
I know. You see this?
This just went live today.
I've been trying to talk him into getting a Diablo. This is a 1992 Lamborghini Diablo, Euro spec car, and it's beautiful.
It's red.
I'm going to log in and bid real quick.
Do it. Hey, you're allowed to.
I've been going back and forth on a Mercy versus a Diablo.
It's in LA.
That's even better.
What's the title state?
Arizona.
I've always wanted a pop-up car. I think they're significantly undervalued. I mean, Doug, you can probably educate us all on that more, but it's hard to say no to this, and you get a manual. All of them are
gated manual, V12, same powertrain as your car.
Yep. You said it's a U.S. car. It's actually a European market car.
I said it was a Euro car. Play the tape back. Thank God we have it on tape. Finally, I'm able to play the tape back when Filippo attempts to correct me. Euro spec car. This thing is one of the coolest cars. I do think the Diablo market is going up. It has not trended up fast, I will say. But I swear in 10 years, these things are going to be valuable.
Serious bid from Nick.
Boom! $4,500 credit card hold. You cool with that?
Yeah, we'll be fine.
Show it to the Maserati guy. Prove your true net worth here.
We got an Amex.
Be like, hey man, are you? Did you send the title back? And also, by the way, I just threw $100,000 on a Diablo.
Rates are down 0.5 point, so we're good. This car's basically 5% off.
I want to mention one other set of cars that are live, which is we have 2 cars that were part of a Throttle House road trip. Throttle House is another car YouTube channel. We love James and Thomas.
You don't have to say what Throttle House is. Everybody knows what Throttle House is.
For the people.
They replaced me.
Yeah, pretty much. They about a year ago went on an awesome road trip. Fun fact, they went through my wife's hometown. Stopped at a diner there. Thank you. And they had these 2 really cool cars. The 1986 Corolla and a first-gen GTI. And they're both for sale with no reserve on Cars and Bids.
You know, GTI look pretty cool, honestly.
Yeah. Good old Schnitz.
You know what my fun fact is? I'm not actually named after Nick Cage. A lot of people last week asked if that was true on my podcast.
Have you confirmed with your parents?
For the record.
Have you confirmed with your parents that...
Santa Claus. We'll never know. My parents don't remember a lot from my early development. I think they blacked it out.
These cars are both incredibly cool. I'm thrilled that Throttle House is selling these with us.
Yes.
And they're just cool. They're super cool, and they're live now. When do they end? A couple days? Next week?
They end next Thursday.
You get a bid on the GTI?
Do like a good rabbit.
You were a Volkswagen guy for a long time.
VW Vortex.
Yeah.
VW Vortex.
Yeah, Cassiopeias, man. Those are some good cars that are live. We don't have a lot of time for other market report stuff, although I do want to very quickly mention we sold a 991 911 yesterday for under 40.
Whoa.
You see the shot? 991 for under 40. Now, this was a high mileage automatic first year car. It was like kind of the least desirable version, but you get the point. For years it was, if you wanted to spend 40 for a 911, you had to get a 997 or 996, but a 997 was sort of the best you could do. Yeah, so it's been hit a few times.
Hit a few times, disabling damage, moderate damage.
19 had had an accident, 14 had had an accident, 15 had had an accident. So it's a 4-accident car, you know?
And only one of them was disabling.
The point is,
this is a great comp for buying other ones.
The point is, though, you can see where the 991. Yeah, that's right. When you want to lowball someone on the 991, you can see where the market is headed, and it's interesting that the rough ones are now hovering in the high 30s. This is a really special car for high 30s. I mean, Nick can't even tell it apart from a brand new one.
Yeah,
I think a lot of people probably can't.
It makes sense. Like early 997s, stick, coupes, and cabs are 30 now.
Really?
32.
05s?
Yeah, 05s and 06s actually are like in the low 30s. So it makes sense that the least desirable 991s are falling. Like
getting to that point,
there will be a floor, but 996s are showing that floor can be quite low again.
Yeah,
you could
after a year or two of it being rising.
Yeah, you could build a 2-car garage from 2012 with this and a Quattroporte for under 50 grand.
That's true. It'd be tight, but yeah, you could.
You could do it.
That's an idea.
Okay, we got to get to questions from our audience. Our audience asks questions. If you want to ask a question, go to carsandbids.com, click on the communities tab at the top, and
there's a post there.
There's a post there every week that says, hey, what do you want to ask us? And we will answer the highest upvoted questions no matter how bad they are, because we want to hear from you and we want to see what you're saying. And so, first question from Lambo13653.
Ooh.
When is the app coming out? Soon. Second question.
Very soon.
From Alec Metz 2011. Could you guys have Ryan from E39 Source on the podcast? Here's the thing about Ryan. Ryan is the most wonderful person, and he makes the BMWs tick, or not tick as it were. But he is like a very detail-oriented. Like I don't know that he would be like a podcast person.
There's only one way to find out.
Yeah. He'd be like, well, actually, the E39 has the quarter window is 2.5 inches, not 3 inches.
That's right. We might have to see whether he can be part of the video.
We should bring him on and see what he says.
He's done a daily vlog for like 5,000 days in a row. But
I know, it's wild.
For those who aren't familiar with E39 Source, go to their YouTube channel. Maybe we'll link it. And check out the most recent build. They did a 60, actually, I don't know. They did a 31-page receipt restoration on a 2000 M5.
Someone showed. This is Ryan. Ryan is so obsessively detail-oriented. Someone brings him a 2000 M5 and says, make it perfect. And he ordered.
He makes it perfect.
He ordered. You should see the parts. They're laid out in this he laid them out like they would be in the car, and it takes up his whole shop.
Yeah.
I mean, it's incredible.
I love
the work they do is incredible, and also Kenan being like, "Oh, I spent 15 grand." At E39, they're like, "That's a rounding error on one of our receipts."
Didn't Kenan tell us the average bill at E39 Source is 20?
Yeah. But they're building the most pristine. It's like the Singerification of E39s without it being modded.
Yeah. So anyway, Ryan probably would be a good guest, but we'll talk about E39s, E60s, and E46s. Yes. That's like it. Like we think Nick's period of car knowledge is limited to 95 to 2012.
It is. I think we'll bring them in for a market report on E39s. We could have a couple minutes. Yes,
there you go.
Okay, next question. This is from Dark End. I recently became obsessed with the BAC Mono and watched Doug's old review of it. The way Doug spoke about the Mono is exactly like how he speaks about the Countach. It's an experience, etc. So my question is, did the BAC Mono ever come across as a thought when Doug was purchasing the Countach? No, but that's an interesting question. You know, I am not someone who likes like ridiculous craziness like that, and I always, whenever I'm going to review a car like the BAC Mono, I'm always like, oh, this thing. Like I just want to sit in comfort with a cooled seat, you know?
I do. Of course, you have no comfort or cooled seats in the Countach,
or
any car.
But when then I drove the BAC Mono, and the BAC Mono was so amazing, and I had the same experience with the McLaren P1 GTR, and I didn't consider a BAC Mono because one of my big things when I buy cars is I specifically go after cars that I think are kind of iconic. That's like a major pursuit of mine. And I think these three cars are the G-Wagon Cabrio, kind of the opposite end of the spectrum. Kind of the least iconic car ever made. But the Ford GT, the Carrera GT, and the Countach are very, very special cars. The BAC Mono just isn't. And I would also worry about like reliability and ownership experience. And frankly, I think it's just a little bit too compromised. But I do agree that the experience, like the physical experience of owning the BAC Mono and driving it is just like a total kick in the face. And just like the Countach, it's one of the cars that I can get in after a long day or I'm tired or I'm in a bad mood, and I could drive it and just feel like totally exhilarated at the end of it. And there's not that many cars I think that can do that. And by the way, I would have pursued a P1 GTR if I could have afforded it. I think that car, even though it's not necessarily quite the icon that a Countach is like so insanely cool to drive.
Plus, if you consider that in a BAC Mono, your face is forced into a smile.
Yep. No, I'd wear a full helmet if I owned one.
Fair.
That is going back to the first news story about the Commonwealth of Massachusetts saying Kei Cars are too dangerous.
Yeah, people.
Where does the BAC Mono fall into that? Guaranteed death.
Guaranteed death. Okay, next question from J.M. Katzy. Here's a good one that you'll love.
All right.
Hey, Doug, what is your opinion of what happened to C&C Motors? I know you used to review a lot of cars from them before they were shut down due to fraud, and I was wondering what you thought of the whole situation. All right, I'm going to tell you the C&C Motors story. It's time.
Please.
All right.
It's time.
So C&C Motors was this exotic car dealership east of LA in a town called Upland, which I had never heard of before, and frankly don't really know where that is even now. I just put it into the GPS and go there. And it was hot, that's what I know. And it was across the street from a quarry, which is insane. And I would film, and the quarry would all day long would be quarrying. Huh. Anyway, so what's that?
Interesting.
Yeah, it was so annoying. And so anyway, C&C Motors, there were some red flags when I would go there. Like they would tell me how much they would pay for some of the trades, and I'd be like, what? How could that be? But whatever, I mean, they always had, the reason I filmed so many videos up there was because, especially during the period where I filmed with them, which was like 2018 through 2020 or whatever, I was still growing my channel, hadn't done a lot of reviews of a lot of exotic cars, and they had everything. I mean, you would walk in there and they had have an LFA and a LaFerrari and 5 Ford GTs and a Carrera GT and a PTS color. They had everything. They sold a LaFerrari Aperta for $8.5 when that was still a thing.
Yep.
Like it was crazy. Gull wings, I mean, old, new, it didn't matter, that everything, right? So it was an obvious place to go because I could show up there at 8 a.m. and knock out 2 or 3 car reviews and then go home and have like a week, 2 weeks worth of content done on cars that were going to be massive successes. And to this day, some of my very biggest reviews have been there, including that Ford F650 Supertruck.
Which is your most viewed video ever.
Really?
You mean biggest literally? Like size of vehicle?
Physically biggest. Anyway, eventually what happened was they were stealing from people. Now, I want to make a point. The stealing... I wasn't like employed there or anything. I would just go up maybe once every 2 or 3 months to film. The stealing, I hadn't been to the dealership in a year by the time the stealing stuff came out. I didn't know what was going on. I hadn't heard about any of that. I literally hadn't even talked to the guys in a year. And because I had kind of run out of cars that they did. Like I had kind of pivoted from the older exotics, which they mostly had, to like brand new cars, which they don't, that was getting press cars. And so I hadn't really been up there in a year. And so I started hearing these rumblings. I got text messages, hey, did you hear about C&C? And then one thing led to another, and then Clay, was arrested. And so that happened. But I think the thing about C&C, and so my opinion of what happened to them, it sounds to me like they spent too much. They got a new building. I think they bought it and built it themselves, which is a mistake that a lot of these exotic dealers make. They think that things are going really well. They have a little bit of cash. They want to leverage to even more, and then the market turns. And I think that's a mistake that a lot of exotic car dealers have made over the years. And I'm always wary of like some of these specialized exotic car dealers that are really flashy. There used to be companies that would advertise in DuPont Registry when I was a kid, the toy store and Auto Panache, all these like places that were like big deals, and then eventually they kind of go away, and the next crop of them shows up, and then they kind of go away. And there's like a right way to do it, which I think a lot of our sellers do, which is kind of like keep overhead minimal and be reasonable and don't be insane. And then there's like the other way, which is like add more leverage, take on even more debt to sell even more cars, and then you end up into this situation. And so, I mean, it's a shame what happened to some of the people. I had not friends, but friends of friends who were kind of caught up in some of their stuff. But you got to be careful in the exotic car business. Things can change. And in their situation, what happened was COVID hit, and even though the COVID car market became really strong, the first 6 months were really tough. And it was like basically a margin call for them. And that was the end of CNC. And now I don't go there anymore. And I don't know what happened to those people. Some of them are in jail.
Do you think, based on what happened, like consignment selling in general is now a bad idea?
Question. Or wouldn't you kind of think twice about it?
Yeah, I mean, especially with Cars and Bids, not to like hawk the product here, but like there are ways to sell a car now that are you don't need a dealer necessarily. And you avoid a lot of the, like I'm having title issues right now with a QP5, like imagine doing that on a LaFerrari. Like you just don't need that when you have a third party involved already.
That's an interesting point. I would still trust, I mean, I want everyone in the world to use Cars and Bids. I would still trust legitimate dealers. It may be hard to figure out.
CNC was viewed as very legitimate.
Very legitimate. They sold cars to celebrities. They sold cars all over Southern California. If you wanted an exotic car, you showed up there and got stuff. I mean, they had this crazy inventory, crazy building out there.
And we don't need to name names, but there was another prominent car guy who sold to celebrities that was recently had a wire fraud charge. I mean, this keeps happening. CNC is not an outlier necessarily. Like
that's the thing. And the dealerships I mentioned before that kind of went away from when I was a kid, I don't know that anything fraudulent happened, but I do think that at some point the business doesn't keep going like it did. Maybe the figurehead has gone or whatever, but these exotic car dealers like seem to cycle. The really flashy, showy ones seem to cycle in a way that, it makes me a little nervous.
I mean, if it could happen to FTX and the smartest genius in the world, then it could happen anywhere, right?
That's one way to put it. What's the next question?
It is an interesting thing. I was surprised that it happened considering the level they were at, but it is a really good lesson that no matter how good somebody's reputation is or how big you think they are,
you got to be cautious.
You got to be cautious. And FTX is actually a good example. Remember, they had gone to some celebrities to market for them, and they did their diligence and were like, I'm out. And some less cautious celebrities did that and now are being sued as part of it.
Theranos, same thing. Their board was impeccable, but you can't just go on reputation.
You can't just go on reputation. And
you must do your own research, is what Nick is saying.
Do your own diligence. Yeah, Nick is a great poster child, a good example of that.
Go deep into their water slides, their cousins,
the bank
figure out all the facts.
Next question from Daniel Guyman. In the Communities by Model tab on Cars and Bids, why is there not a section for the Aspark Owl? The reason is
it doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist.
We only have cars that exist.
We only have cars that exist. I'm so sorry.
The real answer is that we have cars where we have generally hosted auctions or have an auction in the pipe.
No, because it doesn't exist.
So the Aspark Owl will never have a tab because it will never exist.
Okay, but, the Aspark Owl, now everybody, because of this podcast, everybody sends me Aspark Owl information. And
there's information?
But there was one at Pebble, but it didn't move, apparently.
There was one on a roundabout. I don't think that one moved either.
They don't move, which is weird because they're electric. Put the body on a Tesla and just move it.
Well, you need to make a body.
They have bodies.
Yeah.
Okay, that is the Aspark Owl question. The last thing I want to say, we have been given a gift.
Ooh.
Yes, a gift by our friend Mike Morano at Audi Greenwich.
How kind of him.
Morano. We'll have to ask Mike. Mike is a seller on our site, a watcher of the podcast, and he offered to change my Toyota Sequoia oil when I was driving cross country, which I didn't take him up on because I was in a hurry on that day when I was driving.
How kind of him.
But he sent us a gift, a consolation prize gift. Instead of an oil change, we now have...
Wow.
For those who can't see, which I feel terrible for you, this is an Audi robot.
That's the only way to describe it.
It's like a stuffed animal robot, yes.
I have been making fun for weeks now of Toyota's... when I bought my Sequoia, they sent me a list to all this merch, and it was the crappiest stuff you'd never want to buy in your life, including a small goat and a small bee wearing a Toyota shirt. But I think Audi has out-insaned us They've got a stuffed robot with the Audi logo.
I love it.
Oh yeah, of course. That's obviously going to be our new mascot.
When we don't have a third person, they just sit in a chair.
I'm also curious, the robot's a quadriplegic. It has no arms, no legs.
He doesn't have arms or legs. He's a robot. Here's what he does.
It just has wheels?
Beep, 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 beep,
Yeah.
beep. Hello. Let's talk about the B5A4.
No, all he wants to talk about is the Q5 55E.
The Q8 e-tron. Anyway, the robot's name is going to be Mike in honor of the person who sent it to us.
How kind.
And it's a literal Audi robot. He's even got a little Audi tag here. He retails for $39.95. That's a deal. These were like $20 each.
I'd rather have the robot. No offense to Toyota.
Get out of here, Toyota things. They're replaced by the robot. Mike the robot has appeared instead.
Have you ever, when you're buying a new car, tried to negotiate in some merch from
Never bought a new car.
I have done that. Yeah. If you throw in a pen, I'll do it at this number.
What'd you get from Toyota for the Sequoia?
Well,
you paid for those.
That deal was all done via text
What other
message.
new vehicles have you purchased?
I purchased a Land Rover Defender.
Oh, I forgot about that car.
And I purchased a Kia Stinger. And the deal there was, do you remember the deal with that Kia Stinger?
It was only that it was a year old at that point.
I told them I would buy it at their ask if they would deliver it to me. Do you remember this? And they were in North County. They were in Escondido. And they said yes. And I said, you also have to pick it up for service. And they said yes, and they did. The car was 2 years old.
Socks? Did you get?
I should have.
I do have a friend who bought a very used Subaru Outback from a Subaru dealer and got a pair of Subaru socks as a little throw-in gift.
Hey, what happened to those Toyota socks? Did I give them to Kenan or you?
I think Kenan.
Okay, so now we have Mike the robot. We have Nick the insane. Nick, do you have any parting thoughts for us?
No.
Nick, you gonna drive home in this QP? By the way, one other thing about the Quattroporte that you should know: he pressure washed the engine again, as he does.
No, he was very specific. He hosed it off.
Yes.
And when he started the car after the hose, he told you about this?
Yeah.
Every warning light came on. He turned it off, turned it back on, then just the check engine light came on.
I think it just stuttered a little bit, but it was fine. I also blew it off with a leaf blower to try to get all the water out. So
it actually looks surprisingly clean.
It looks very nice.
It's probably worth doing.
Nicest 2012 QP5 on the planet.
Except for the clear failure, the wheel damage, the back window doesn't go up or down.
Oh, those will be fixed.
The front bumper is like, I don't know what they hit.
It's also still the nicest. All of these can be true.
All right, thank you for watching or listening to our wonderful podcast. We'll see you again next week. We'll be back with Kenan, right?
Indeed.
All right, goodbye, everyone. Thanks for coming, Nick.
Thank you.